Hello, everybody. Hopefully you can see us and hear us. It is Wednesday. How's everybody doing? My name is Mary, and welcome to another episode of Patch Notes. You've probably already noticed I am not Zach, nor am I Ray. They are taking a well-deserved break from the show, and so I am at the helm, and I am joined by CEO of Twitch, Dan Clancy. How's it going?
It's going good, Mary, and it's fun to be here with you. I think this is the first time I've been on Patch Notes with you. I've been with Ray
yes.
and Zach. It's a historic day.
Yes, you've tried all the hosts, and then at the end you can vote your favorites. Speaking of getting all of your opinions, we do want your opinions. We will always be checking chat throughout the show, so if you have questions for us throughout the show of all the topics, even topics that we're not covering, you can still ask them in chat. We'd be happy to review them, and we'll read them towards the end of the show.
Yep, and as always, remember to do !ask or use the Twitch Ask extension, so that way the folks we have that are picking it up can pick them up. And we get a lot of questions on these, and so unfortunately we can't get to all of them, but we try to get to as many as we can.
Yeah, we'll do the best we can with every one of your questions. And in case you're tuning into your first episode of Patch Notes, we're essentially going to consolidate a lot of the news that's happened over the last month into one place so that we can cover it in a little bit more depth. And we'll even have guests on that worked on maybe the product or the feature or the announcement so that you can ask them directly and get more specific questions. So that's the point of the show. We're excited that you're here. And Dan, I think it's time to get to it.
Let's get to it. You know, no need to you and I going back with banter. Let's get going with some of the news, Mary.
I'm sick of this banter. Let's get to the news.
Yeah. All right. So, in terms of our first topic, I assume most of y'all know, but today we announced the dates and times for TwitchCon. So, TwitchCon Europe will unfold in Rotterdam at the Rotterdam Ahoy from June 29th to the 30th, and TwitchCon San Diego will return to the San Diego Convention Center, and that's going to be September 20th through the 22nd. Okay, and also we will be returning to Rotterdam for 25 and 26, and we are committed to being in San Diego from 25 to 28. So we are very excited to finally be able to tell you the dates for TwitchCon. We know a lot of y'all are getting excited about it. I know I'm getting excited about it. And glad now I don't have to keep this secret anymore.
It is nice to be able to share it. And it's also nice to be able to share that commitment for multiple years, because this really helps with streamers planning and the community. You want to know where we're going to be next year. Now you know. We actually did a multi-year announcement all at once. How convenient. I think that's great, and this is it. Like, that's basically the bulk of the announcement. We talked about this more in depth earlier this morning, Dan and I, but we got a lot of questions. And Dan, I'm going to repeat some of those questions because I think some of them are really good, and some people probably didn't tune into that stream. So, are you ready for some commonly asked Twitch
Let's
FAQs?
go to some of those questions, so that way we'll beat you out to the punch in answering some of them.
Sure. Okay. So some of the common questions I saw this morning was, why is it always West Coast and never East Coast for TwitchCon North America?
Yeah. So this is always tricky. And it's not just about East Coast, West Coast, especially now in Europe. This relates to this question of moving it around. The challenge when you're running a conference is, when you go to a new facility, each year it's a different conference in terms of what you need to do to figure out how to run it. So, you know, we did Amsterdam and then we did Berlin, and each year it's different convention centers. So all of our logistics, which ends up making it more expensive to run, more complicated, more difficult. And so in general, we decided, like most conferences, if you think of the conferences you go to regularly, almost all of them go back to the same place. I know a lot of people would love us to do an East Coast. A lot of us would like us to do something in Asia, LATAM. Twitch is a global community, and that's one of the most common questions. When can we have TwitchCon in fill in the blank? and we'd love to be able to find a way to move it around more. It's challenging to do effectively, and so we kind of need to pick a place. We've been very happy with San Diego. I think that has worked well. I think you saw that clearly in the feedback after Vegas. I loved going to Vegas, but I mean, we'll always remember our year in Vegas very fondly. But I think most of us will be happy to be back in San Diego. And Mary, why don't you talk to me about your feelings about going back to San Diego?
Yeah, I mean, I have done so many TwitchCons. I have done almost all of them. I think I missed the very, very first TwitchCon we ever had. And I heard from so many streamers. That's what I do at TwitchCon. I talk to everybody about how their experiences are. And a lot of them said that financially, it's really, really nice to have it in a place like San Diego because it has more affordable flights, hotel accommodations, and travel. Often you can walk to the convention center. We consider that a lot when we are looking at places. So I think that San Diego really kind of fits a lot of what we're looking for when it goes to a convention center. It's reasonably affordable. I think going to any con costs you money. We know that. I've been to so many Comic-Cons, yeesh. But you want to try and keep those costs down. So that's a very important factor. I think that we actually have to be very careful because of the size of attendees. We grow, we sell out every year, and that's kind of a huge factor as well. If we went to a smaller convention size, that would probably be a bummer for a lot of people who wanted to go. So we've just had so many good experiences and so much good feedback from creators from San Diego. I think it does feel good. Now, we've never tried Rotterdam, so that is a bit of a risk, but we heard from a lot of creators that they loved the Netherlands. It's very central to a lot of our European creators, and it's also very affordable. And we got to talk to Daniel Lippens today, and he also told us, man, Rotterdam has a great city that is a hub to lots of nightlife and dining and dancing scenes and stuff like that. So I think that you'll get a nice mix of being able to enjoy the con, have your own quiet evenings if you want them. But if you want to hit the town with a bunch of buds, Rotterdam's going to be lit. So I think it's a good mix. And because, again, we're doing it for multi-years, we get to make this our home. And I think that's also a win, Dan. So there's no perfect place. I think there's always things that we can improve. But I genuinely think these are two really solid locations. And so I hope everybody's as excited as we are.
Well, I know for those that aren't familiar with Rotterdam, as many in North America probably aren't, and even many in Europe, the thing that got me excited about Rotterdam, in some ways, I think there's some similarities to San Diego and LA in terms of the relationship there, interestingly. First of all, for those who don't know, it's about a 40-minute train ride from Amsterdam. So, in fact, it's not any further from Amsterdam than Anaheim is from LA or something like that. So it's actually pretty close. So getting there actually is easy. You fly into Amsterdam International Airport, 40-minute train ride, you're in Rotterdam. Rotterdam's a little smaller, which makes it a little more intimate. And that's one thing that I think everyone said after Vegas and even Paris. They loved Vegas and Paris, but I know I felt this. It's really nice and San Diego is the epitome of this. You walk out of the convention and you still feel like you're at TwitchCon. Whereas that was one of the challenges in Vegas. You walked out of TwitchCon and now you're in the middle of all this. And, there's everything else going along. And I love the fact that as you're wandering around the town, in the morning, in the evenings, and other times, you're running into Twitch people all the time in San Diego. And I think Rotterdam is going to be the same way. The city's been great. They're excited about painting the town purple and getting Twitch. So I think we will get this extremely strong welcome in Rotterdam. Since it's a little smaller than Amsterdam, as you wander around, you'll just run into people. And that's part of the magic of TwitchCon, is just running into people you didn't even know you were going to run into.
I agree. MD, good to see you in chat. He says, San Diego is very convention friendly and has a lot of great spots to network near the convention. Absolutely. That's why it's home to so many other conventions like Comic-Con. It makes a lot of sense. It is a really good fit for our community and the types of things that happen both in the con and outside of the con. We want to make sure that lots of people can have their parties and their events right near the convention center. So I agree. We received so much feedback from creators, and this is one that really ticked a lot of boxes. So I feel pretty good about it. Another question, Dan, that we get a lot is, why don't you move it around? Like, why are we just staying to the same location when historically we literally changed it every year and creators got to try different cities?
Yeah, I touched on this a little bit. The fact that we always changed it every year was sort of our testament of not really knowing that much about how to run conventions. Because everyone who runs conventions looked at us like, why do you move it around every year? It doesn't work. It makes it much harder to run. It's every year, it's more stress on the team. So while we enjoy going to different places too, I know you do, in the end, we had to make the decision that's the right thing for TwitchCon long term, is to just get a home, stay there, and invest in one place.
I think that's super true. You know how we always skin the convention center? All the walls have custom TwitchCon stuff everywhere. So every year we would have to measure all of the walls and all the poles and be like, okay, we need very specific signage for all that's a lot of work. So the fact that we know what the signage is and what we need and how we can very clearly tell people how to get to Nom Nom or how to get to Glitch Theater, that makes a lot of sense. Now, I do want to say, Uche Biola says, Twitch, Japan would be a really good place for Twitch. And I agree. I think, Dan, that we should have TwitchCon in Japan. I think you should really listen to this feedback. I think it's only fair that we try.
Mary wants a trip to Japan. So I would, I'd love to be able to do something. What we need to figure out is how to do things that are a little bit smaller and more localized. We really made a decision here that TwitchCon, it's TwitchCon EU and TwitchCon North America. The reality, Asia is a very different market in terms of the different cultures there. And it'd be great to be able to do something in Japan and something in Australia and something in Brazil. We probably need to come up with something that is a little different and a more customized for that. And one of the things we need to do is just figure out how to do that in a manner where we can break even on that, because that's an important thing that, we have to think about how do we run and scale these things. So it's definitely something we would like to do. Right now, we still have some work to kind of establish and solidify what we've been doing in the two locations. But I will tell you, I would love to come and do something in Japan, just like I'd love to do something in Latin America, other parts of Asia, and other parts of Europe as well.
And then one third question that I've seen a lot, especially on Twitter, why is it at the same time, TwitchCon Europe, as VidCon?
Yeah, so this wasn't lost on us. Last year I went down to VidCon to see some streamers. I enjoyed that. Of course, there are different communities here. The challenge is we didn't have a lot of flexibility in the dates when we picked Rotterdam. This is one of the benefits of committing in advance. That, in fact, part of what we had always been doing is planning 1 year in advance, which interestingly was one reason why we had to leave San Diego, because one reason we left San Diego was because it was full, and we couldn't have it in San Diego last year, and so that's why we moved it to Vegas. And that's one of the problems with moving it around. So we did not. But when we signed the contract for the dates, that was already before VidCon had announced, and we didn't have any flexibility because they already have other people in the convention center at other times. However, for next year, we get more flexibility. That's one of the benefits of signing a longer-term commitment, is you get a little more flexibility so that we can try to work around these other conventions so that it works well for our creators.
Yeah, I think that's a good note, is that because we sign multi, next year we get more options, which means next year that is very unlikely to happen. It is really unfortunate that it happened this year. I remember last year, and Ray actually said this in chat, Vegas ended up being the same weekend as the When We Were Young tour, which is like such a really good music festival. And that was unfortunate that those doubled up. sometimes there's events that happen on the same weekend, and we really try to avoid it, but this time it happened. So we're really sorry about that, and we're going to really try to avoid it in the future. I totally get it. That is a bummer.
I know one of the
I've also
questions
been to
are, will the dates be the same every year? And no, the
No.
cities we're committed to, but the dates won't be. In fact, we're probably going to move up TwitchCon EU a little bit. That also creates more space. Right now, TwitchCon Europe and TwitchCon North America are still reasonably close together. And since there's some people that go to both, in a perfect world, we get a little more space between the two. We'll probably move it up. And that also will help with some of the other conferences. I
agree. Those are the major questions that I saw. If you have additional questions about TwitchCon, including when are we going to be able to purchase tickets and stuff, we did just release a blog that has a bunch of FAQs that will answer questions like that. We're going to release tickets in February, and we'll have more information about that. But if there's other stuff that's not answered, please put your question in the chat, and we'll grab it and we'll answer it in a little bit, okay? And with that, I think we're good to move on to our next topic. Does that sound good to you, Dan?
Let's do it.
Good.
All right.
Our next.
So,
go ahead.
You go ahead and do it, Angela. Mary, you go ahead and introduce
You're
Angela.
reading it. I do that too. I read names. If I look at you, but I'm reading someone else's name, it's over. Our next topic is the Attire policy update, and that's with Angela Hession, which means we get the pleasure of hanging out with Angela for a little bit. So let's bring Angela on.
Great.
Hi.
Thank you. Thanks, Mary. I'm happy to be streaming with you again. So I've had the opportunity to do that. So thanks so much. Nice to see you, Dan. So,
Good to see you.
yeah.
Angela sees a lot of me, so she's being real nice there. She's like, oh, yeah, nice to see me, Dan.
This is a bonus for me. I don't get enough time with Angela. So.
And if Angela suddenly starts going into review mode, you'll know why, okay? Because she's like, oh, I'm in a meeting with Dan. But
yes, that's fair. Dan cares very much about trust and safety, and we're very fortunate for that. So yeah, just a quick update. We did launch our attire policy a couple weeks ago, an update to our attire policy, where we did provide some more clarity and guidelines around nudity or implied nudity, as we shared. And this was a response. We did see a meta where some of our streamers were putting sensor blocks across their body, or actually different objects as well. So we thought it was really important to provide a clarity of what we meant by implied nudity or nudity on our service. So this type of behavior is now prohibited on our service. You can see that. You can see it here too on the screen. Yes. So yes.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Yes.
Tell me more about what the key takeaways of them are, and maybe like the key reminders for creators, especially as they're adjusting to what you've just updated.
Yeah, sure. So there's a lot of great information in our blog post update. So if you get a chance, go to our safety center, and there's a lot of information. I think the 3 areas that I would probably touch on just based on community feedback. One was we did again remind people about CCLs. So if you actually label your stream as sexually themed, it will not appear on the homepage. The other really important area that goes along with this policy update for Attire was related to coverage. So when we talk about coverage, we want to make sure that the clothing that you're using is opaque. So anything that's see-through or kind of more like partially, like you can see it, or there's some type of like a way of you can see the outline of body parts, that is not considered as coverage. The other piece that we're getting feedback from the community that we updated in the blog post, which I think is really important, is making sure that you are streaming in the correct category. So if you have an exception to our attire policy, which is allowed in pools and hot tubs and also in beaches, you need to make sure that you're streaming in that category. So if you're not, that what we'll give you a warning, and then you will actually have a violation against our community guidelines, and so you will receive an enforcement.
And I just want to take a moment, first of all, to thank Angela, because all of these things are tricky because we're trying to balance the different interests of the community. The other thing is our community is really inventive and creative, and they move quick. And the censor bars is an example of that. It kind of cropped up right as we were going into break. I know that's one thing that the team had to work a lot to figure out, because one of the things that, and I think people don't, always understand or appreciate this, as we write policies, we really try to take a fair amount of care to make sure we get the wording right, that it's clear, that, so that people can figure out how to handle that. And so that's something that, I know Angela and team was working very hard over so that we could quickly get this out right after the break. So thank you, Angela. I appreciate it.
Thanks to the team. I represent a big group of people that actually work on this, and I'm very grateful for that. And to your point, yes, we have a very innovative community, and sometimes, we make mistakes. And I think it's our job to make sure that we are quickly updating and providing clarity so people understand what is allowed on our service and what is not allowed. So thanks to the team that actually did a lot of the work over the break.
Yeah, and by the way, I want to mention to a second, just up-leveling in terms of how we think about this, because obviously this is one of those topics where there are a lot of different perspectives. And it is one where we really do, think deeply about wanting to make sure we can find the right balance. These are creators that are have communities that they're building, just like other creators that have communities that they're building. And oftentimes people will disparage them, which I think is unfortunate, because the people that are creating these communities are building communities, they're engaging with that community. Fully understand, though, that there's some people that are not interested in this content. And one of the things that we really want to continue to improve the product on is to help those people that are not interested in certain types of content to make sure that they are not seeing it or not exposed to it. Also being conscious about age and other factors so that we can appropriately create the right environment for our viewers. One thing I want to be clear is Twitch is not for people that are under 13. We are very clear about that in our policies, and we work hard to make sure that they're not using Twitch. But in terms of other folks, and we're still looking at other things we can do. We've talked about this, about the ability to blur thumbnail images sometimes, also the ability to let users restrict on some of the content classifications. And those are some of the things that we continue to work on to try and create a better experience and find the right balance so that the people who are enjoying this content in those communities can still enjoy themselves, while other people that are not interested in this content don't have it impacting their experience of Twitch.
I think that's a really good point, Dan, is that, this update was two things. One was really to provide clarity for our streamers of how we were defining implied nudity, and also is balancing the content so people were clear about what content they were going to see. And so we need to make sure that we're striking that right balance with this Attire update, so just providing more clarity of what is acceptable and not acceptable when it comes to our Attire policy.
Yeah, and by the way, I picked up one question that I think I will answer because it's very relevant. Val and Vane asked, do we consult with full-time creators that are affected by the updates? And the answer is yes, we do. That is a huge part of what we do, which is one reason why sometimes it takes more time. Because in fact, we may say, oh, let's do this, but then we want to talk to folks on both sides in terms of how it affects them, how they're going to adapt. And we did that in this case as well. I know Angela does that regularly. I did it as well. So absolutely, it's a critical part of how we handle it.
I was actually in one of those when we talked to some ASMR streamers. Angela, you wanted to put that together. And something that was really interesting and insightful, and it's something the public really doesn't get to see because those meetings are closed for privacy, is that we had, I think, 8 ASMR streamers, and we had a very difficult time having anyone agree on any one topic. So how much the content should be censored, how free it should be, how open it should be. And everybody had different opinions. And so that's kind of what's happening here as well, is that it's very difficult to find a solution that works for everyone. In fact, I would say it's impossible. But the goal is to make a call and make that as clear as we can to you, and then continue learning. And it also, in my conversations with Angela, something I really like about you, Angela, is that you say, this is never done. It doesn't end. We don't make these rules and then say, that's it forever, final, deal with it. You change and update these based on the community and based on the culture all the time. So if we see a need to change the rules, you will change them, which is cool.
Yes. Community feedback is really important. Yes, I remember that meeting with our streamers. And I do remember also, they did have different opinions. And even after the call, some of them actually changed. So we do try to provide clarity. We realize we're not going to get it right all the time, but our policy and trust and safety is never an end state. It's always a journey, as Mary has alluded to, that we want constant feedback from the community. So thank you for the feedback. And we'll constantly try to provide as much clarity as possible for our guidelines going forward.
Thank you, Angela. I have seen so many questions in chat, so I really suspect that we will see you later for our Q&A portion where we can dive into some of these community questions.
Yes, I'm going to give a quick update on yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry,
I want to
that's my bad.
Yes,
Thanks, Dan.
No, it's all right. That's okay. I was going to say, I'm not letting go of the mic quite yet. So just a quick update on drop farming is that we, on our community guidelines, we say that cheating on Twitch rewards is actually against our community guidelines and is prohibited, and drops is included in that. So what I just wanted to provide a quick update here is that going forward, just so everyone is super clear, that drop farming is against our community guidelines, and that moving forward, we will enforce across all games. And so I think what's important is that really when you think about drops, the intention of drops is for you to earn rewards by watching your favorite stream, your favorite channel, engaging and hanging out on that stream. And that's how you earn rewards. Well, we feel that drops farming actually undermines the intention of drops. So if you go to our spam and scam policies in our community guidelines, you can learn more about our policy. But again, it's just to provide clarity and an update that drops farming is against our community guidelines.
Great. All right. Thanks, Angela. Really appreciate that update.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Cheers.
We'll see you soon later.
Cheers. Bye.
All right. Just in terms of a quick touch point before we bring on our next guest, which I think everyone here will be excited about, is so this is just an update in terms of the Partner Plus program. Partner Plus program offering a 70-30 rev share to creators, as you know. It's grown by 10% each month since launching in 23. I know I've personally had a number of creators come up and talk to me about how it's made a difference for them. A lot of communities have rallied around their creators. I know I've done that, where a lot of creators have gone on and said, try to get as many tier 3 subs as you can. And so the on-stream Partner Plus points goals will be rolling out for all partners to take advantage of. And so this is a feature to help people see how close they're getting. And you'll have the option to turn on this display as a Partner Plus point goal of its own, or along with any other followers for sub goals. So that way your viewers can understand how you're tracking if you want to do that. So that will be coming out shortly.
It's a nice small update just to let you know that it is obvious that creators want more visibility and clarity of if they're making it, how they are doing on their journey. So that's it. It's basically just a nice visual and you said you can turn it on, which means you can turn it off. You can not see it if you don't want to, Dan.
That's how we always build things. No one told me, but yes, this is the type of thing that you should choose what you want with your community. Some people don't want to do this, so.
Yeah, some people have different motivations outside of Partner Plus goals. So that's great. I think it's good to have that visibility and to be able to see it. It is a very highly requested feature on user voice. So it's cool that it's rolling out this week. So would you expect that most, if not everybody, will have this by end of week, Dan?
Yeah, in general, something like this would roll out very quickly.
Okay. That's great. Nice quick feature there for Partner Plus. Our next topic is enhanced broadcasting beta. We've had a lot of conversation about this, but we really did need an expert to help us explain everything. So let's get Brad Hughes in here.
Hey, Brad.
Hey,
Great to have you on the show.
Yeah,
Yep.
thanks. Good to see you both.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time to talk to us about this. This has been discussed a lot online, and a lot of people are still trying to fully understand it. So if you could...
And Mary, before he
it.
goes
Yes.
into it, actually, before he explains it, Brad, why don't you just say a few things about your role at Twitch, how long you've been at Twitch? I think it is good for them to have some contextualization on that.
Yeah, sure thing. Hey, everybody. My name is Brad Hughes, or Cool Scooby on Twitch. I joined Twitch in December 2022 in the video organization, and that's the behind-the-scenes magic. We take everybody's video streams and do all the processing and then distribute them worldwide so that you as a creator or you as an audience member can have like a really strong connection with each other. I'm an engineering manager on the video team these days, and I'm also a product manager for this specific feature. So I'm like wearing kind of two hats. So today I'm excited to geek out a little bit about the video technology that powers Twitch and share a little bit about our new enhanced broadcasting feature.
That's great. We're excited to have you, and it's really cool to have you explain it. Really, I think we will get into the details, but I think before we do that, it's really nice for you to kind of explain it like I'm 5, the basics of what enhanced broadcasting beta is.
Yeah, totally. So enhanced broadcasting is a new streaming paradigm. We've teamed up with the folks at NVIDIA and OBS Project, the creators of OBS, the open source streaming software that pretty much everybody out there uses. And if you break it down, enhanced broadcasting is really two features. The first is multiple encodes, or the ability for OBS or streaming software to generate multiple versions of your content, send it to Twitch. And then the second part is this thing called automatic stream configuration, which helps take the guesswork and the confusing things like bit rates and B frames out of getting your video settings just right.
Yeah. So I think that the multiple encodes and the transcoding are both like huge features. I know I'm excited about them. And so I think it would be great to explain a little bit more about what that means. So why don't you just go a level down and help people understand this whole process?
Yeah, totally. So transcoding is this like really complex thing that when a creator sends their source content, you're streaming from OBS, you've got your total streaming set up. You send this one really high quality version of video to Twitch. And if you're a mobile viewer and maybe you're in a cafe, maybe you're watching on a laptop with bad Wi-Fi. Not necessarily everybody in the viewer community, can sort of like watch this really beautiful, high-quality video. So transcoding is this process that takes this big version of this video and decodes it and scales it and makes it smaller so that if Dan's at a coffee shop or waiting for a flight or something, he can pull out his mobile device and still enjoy the content. Or if you have like the absolute best possible gaming rig set up and you're a viewer and you're used to this like little quality selector when you're watching a Twitch stream, this is powered by transcodes under the hood. And it's something that unfortunately we haven't been able to extend transcodes to the entire community. It's a really, really complex back-end video thing that we haven't been able to make available to all. So multiple encodes, this new paradigm shift, will actually allow us to offer this quality wheel or these multiple versions of the video to all creators equally. And so we've actually teamed up with NVIDIA and OBS Studio. We've built this beta version of the software and all of our back-end services so that now your source content can get encoded multiple times, sent to Twitch, and then depending on if you're got the best internet connection and the best screen and the best GPU, you can watch that 1080 version. But if you're watching on a laptop from a coffee shop, you can also still watch an uninterrupted stream. It won't give you like the buffering wheel or stuttering or any of the other sort of like video artifacts that they just get in between you and your audience effectively.
Yeah. And now I'll just add in, Brad, because for many of them, they write a script for us to go through this, but for the script, I'm just supposed to be laying up softballs for Brad. But of course, I like to geek out on this stuff too, and I've been answering a lot of questions on this. And so, for those of y'all following on, really, you can think of, for you, there are two types of benefits. For many of the smaller streamers where we cannot guarantee transcodes, so we still guarantee transcodes for all partners, and most larger affiliates get transcodes. However, when you first start off streaming, you often don't get transcodes. And I will tell you from experience, from when I first started streaming, if you don't have transcodes, that really makes your stream much harder to watch on a mobile phone. I know I was watching my daughter when she first started streaming, and it was almost like you were getting the wheel all the time. So transcodes can make a huge difference, and we would love to be able to offer server sites transcoding, but we have 7 million folks coming to Twitch every month to stream, and it's actually quite expensive to do the transcodes, and you need to have all the computers, and you need to have the computers there even when, like, it went for peak, and then at Valley. So that's why sometimes you may get a transcode and sometimes you may not, because if we have a lot of people streaming, we have a fixed number of machines, and then you may not get them. And so this means now for all affiliates and non-affiliates, which is a huge number of streamers, you can install this. Many of you, not everyone will have a computer that will have the NVIDIA chip, but the reality is, newsflash, we have a lot of gamers that use Twitch. And in fact, gamers love their fast computers because it makes them really fun for gaming. And so a number of creators either have it today or will be getting a new streamer, a new computer in the next year or so that will have fast enough chips, specialized chips that can do this. So that means everyone gets transcodes. And for those of y'all that are currently getting transcodes, you can get better quality. And this is because the quality depends upon the processing power of the chip and the time you take to do the transcode. And the reality is our chips often are older because we run this service where we do a lot of transcodes. And so we may have a chip that's older. The new chips many of you have will create a better quality video for the same number of bits. And so that means your viewers will get a better quality experience by using client-side encoding.
Does that all check out, Brad?
Yeah, that's all totally right. And we've actually got a couple videos that we're going to play in a little bit that show like the existing quality versus the new quality that you'll get, even if you've got transcodes today, because this technology that used to be expensive and only really available in data centers, like really expensive commercial things, NVIDIA and AMD and Intel and Apple, everyone has put this technology into consumer devices. So we're going to get to ride this amazing wave of this awesome tech that a lot of folks in the community already have got, or it's at a really accessible point for folks to like up the quality of their stream. So we're really excited about the quality of it.
Speaking of accessibility, we're talking about how creators can actually utilize this, and they can generate it in OBS Studio. Tell me if OBS Studio is easy to set up for creators.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is actually, as a new streamer, somebody that hasn't really streamed a lot, like getting your settings in OBS Studio right is a difficult thing. And it actually gets in the way of being like an entertaining creator and trying to like connect to your audience. Because the thing to obsess over isn't always like, what bitrate? Am I using encoder look ahead? Am I using B-frames, like psychovisual tuning? There's all these like checkboxes and all these settings that are just hard. And with this, we knew that we would be going from a world where streamers would send us this one pristine source video to sending, 2 or 3 or 4 or multiple different versions of that. And we didn't want to make it twice or 3 or 4 or 5 times harder. So the beta software that we've built is as simple as literally checking a checkbox. It's just enable enhanced broadcasting. And then under the hood, we collect, Dan just got a new GPU, and he's got a specific CPU, maybe it's an Intel CPU, and he's got specific settings. We'll take that information, we'll crunch the numbers and say like, okay, for your stream, these are the best settings. And it will automatically configure, the number of qualities that are sent, all of the nitty gritty, super detailed encoder settings. And we've done this in a way to make sure that it doesn't impact your game or your content creation software that you might be using on the same machine. Because that's something we were right from the get-go. We didn't want to install this thing that suddenly, you start having FPS drops or you run into these sort of performance issues. And the way we get away with this is that these GPUs that are in your machine already, they've got dedicated silicon, dedicated chips just to do the video encoding. So we've picked these settings in a way that minimizes the performance to your game or whatever it may be that you're sending to Twitch. But we didn't want to make it super hard. We wanted to make it really easy. So just check the enhanced broadcasting checkbox, and we'll kind of take it from here. There's
and
also
to be clear,
super exciting. Oh, go ahead.
I'll also say the enhanced broadcasting also helps folks that aren't using the multiple encodings, because it's just in general making it easier to get your settings done.
That's right. Yep. And another thing about OBS settings, they're kind of sticky. Folks set them once and then they never iterate or change them, or some folks don't. And if you get a newer GPU that's got a better video encoder chip, you might not spend the time or effort to go back and revisit those settings. But enhanced broadcasting, if you check the box, you upgrade your GPU or you add more memory to your system, or those types of environment changes, you get better internet. When you check that box, the next time you go live, you will just get a higher quality stream. It'll be better for your audience. So it kind of takes this really complex, sticky decision-making process and makes it something that happens over time, and we can continue to improve over time.
And just to be clear, it's not automatically checked. So if creators want this, they have to go into their OBS settings and check it now, and then it will happen ongoing.
Yeah.
It's not automatic. They got to do it.
Although, to be clear, it's a beta right now, Mary, so they can't go into OBS right now.
You can't do it at all, but eventually.
Yeah, we
by the way,
announced this last week.
Let me say this, Brett. Someone was in chat, and I was watching chat, and just to be clear, just so it's not, it does end up using local resources, okay? However, that is the whole point about what Brad just talked about this, is because we won't use the local resources if you don't have the local resources to use, because then that will mess up your experience. And the thing about your local computer, if you have the resources and they're not in use, okay, then it's not like using them wears out your computer. That's not what causes computers to wear out. The chip is just sitting there, and it just so happens that NVIDIA, with their new chips, and I know this one thing we'll talk about later, why did we start with NVIDIA? But with NVIDIA, with their new chips, they actually have the resources to do this while it's doing other things. This is only if you have the available resources. Yeah,
that's right. And just to tie it back to what you mentioned earlier, Dan, about racks and racks of servers that we would have to keep to be able to serve this peak amount of transcode demand. One of the beautiful things about this is this chip is already in the NVIDIA GPU, the NVIDIA encoder, or in your AMD GPU. And when you're not using it, it doesn't consume power. And when you do use it, you get better quality. But from an overall, for the Earth sort of thing, we're going to be consuming less overall power to deliver these streams too, which I think is just an exciting environmental aspect for the whole thing.
All right. So let's go ahead and get to AV1 and HEVC. Why don't you just explain those a little bit?
Yeah, totally. So, video codecs are hard. And what a video codec actually does is it takes this raw video and it compresses it into a small box and then sends it across the network to Twitch. And H.264 or AVC has sort of been the standard video codec that has been broadly compatible with consumer devices, whether you're on a cell phone, you're on a tablet, you're on a laptop, you're watching from a TV app, all across the board. But newer codecs like HEVC or AV1 allow you to take that same content, squish it into a smaller box or a smaller arrow. And that's good for content creators because you can send with less upstream the same or better quality stream, and it's better for viewers because more viewers can watch a higher quality version of your content. So, we've done this like before and after. And, initially, we're just focused on getting, as part of this beta, we're just focused on hardening the multi-track video aspects of it, this automatic stream configuration piece. So we're focusing on getting AVC or H.264 working really, really well. And that alone, like Dan mentioned, is going to lead to quality improvements, even over server-side transcoding. So, the TLDR is that these new codecs are just better, newer generation of codecs, and they'll result in a better efficiency when it comes to actually squishing your video to send it to Twitch.
And I'll throw in, many people aren't, because of course a lot of people get excited about AV1 and AV1 and AV1, and it's just the thing everyone likes to talk about. The reality is a lot of viewers do not have computers right now that can handle AV1. Streamers are a different class than viewers, and so it's difficult to get an exact estimate, but it's something like 20% or something like that of Twitch viewership has the ability to handle AV1 in terms of the decoding, because it takes additional processing capabilities. And the end result is, we can't just go over to AV1 because most of our users can't handle AV1. So we're still going to be doing H.264, okay? And that's always been one of the problems, because if you're going to transcode to H.264 and you want to do to AV1, okay, now that takes a lot more compute cycles, okay? And then we also have HEVC, which interestingly, right now, HEVC probably is the codec that will have more benefit to more people than AV1, even though people get all excited about AV1 and you get a lot more questions about AV1, but there are more people that can handle HEVC at this point. And so there's a fair amount of complexity in terms of deciding whether a streamer you want to go to HEVC or AV1, and we need to support H.264 because that's still where the majority of your viewers will be consuming this content.
Yeah, that's totally right. And I'd actually love to just like flip the AV1 switch myself, because it is new and it is exciting, but we also want to be like intentional, and we have to be responsible about rolling these sort of things out to the community. Like if we just flip the switch on and suddenly half of your viewers start getting buffering or stuttering, or because there isn't sort of like a special chip for the viewer to watch an AV1 stream, their battery life on their mobile device just starts to drain super, super fast. Like we're kind of, we got to be really intentional to make sure that the viewer experience and the creator experience are both really strong. So initially focusing on AVC, we're getting this thing working in this beta program. And then we're going to run some experiments and see, like, how does HEVC work? What does the viewer behavior look like? How does AV1 work? What is broken? What do we need to fix? And it may not just be things on the Twitch side that we can control. We might need to work with, browser extensions and plugin creators and in the broader streaming ecosystem to make sure that, we just don't throw creators and viewers into a world of chaos. But at the same time, I want to move for speed, too.
And I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead for one of the questions that are in there, because I think it's relevant to what you're just saying, which was the question is Twitch going to be saving a lot of money from this? And I'll say in the short term, the answer is absolutely not. We already have the transcoders. We are going to continue to transcoding. We continue to use the transcoders. And so really in the short term, this is about allowing far more creators to get transcoders. And, right now we talk about having 7 million people stream. Well, what if we got to 50 million people streaming? Okay. And the reality is that costs a lot more people. We can't give even the 7 million. But if we ever want to think of more and more people streaming, this can be very expensive. So as we think about scaling Twitch to far more viewers streaming and try to get more people streaming, I think transcoding helps, because there's so many small streamers that currently don't have transcode. So that's number one. Number two, improved quality. Over time, this probably does save us money, because eventually we need to upgrade our current fleet. And so I think it will allow us to save money over time. And we certainly will, think about that in overall how we run the business. But in the short term, this isn't a money-saving thing. This is about more transcodes and improved quality. While in the long term, I think it can save some.
I also think it's about what Brad was saying, which is riding the wave of the future. This is happening. These chips are actually just in the power of the people now, which was something we literally didn't have the capability of even doing before. it does behoove us to consider the possibilities and the implications of these things and give people more options and more choices. And in the idea that you don't really know that much about it, or we're worried that you could accidentally go too far when you don't know that much about the differences in these options, we have this option of the enhanced broadcasting so that we can help pick for you and choose something that's best for you at your given state. So I think that's really neat. But I think when we're talking about this, we also have to talk about resolution, because this comes up all the time. Streamers are always talking about highest resolution, right? They always think that higher is better. So Brad, would love to talk to you about the difference between 2K and 4K and how that impacts everything that's going on.
Yeah, totally. And it's been one of the amazing questions that we've had, even in the beta community so far, is so much interest in both AV1 and like what that might mean. So 2K and 4K mean different things to different people. And creators love the idea of streaming in 2K or 4K because they're already maybe playing games in 2K, or they're already producing a music stream in 4K locally, and then they sort of scale it down to 1080 and send it to Twitch. Now, the reality is that streaming in 2K or 4K might not meaningfully increase the connection between creators and their audiences. In the current Twitch world, a huge amount of viewership on Twitch are actually the smaller video qualities, the ones that are smaller than 1080. And that's kind of why having this option available for everyone is super important, because that they can access like a much bigger set of audience members. So, while this tech is going to allow us to experiment with new codecs, it'll allow us to experiment with higher bit rates. It will allow us to experiment with higher resolutions. We're sort of going to stay obsessed about the creator and viewer experience as our North Star. So it's really too early to say, what it means. Like, when will 2K or when will 4K come to Twitch? We don't know yet. But, we're eager to run some experiments and see, how does it benefit the creator? How does it benefit the viewer? Like, I've never met anyone that didn't like want to sort of like own the fast car, right? And a faster car is better than a fast car. And 2K and 4K, in a lot of respects, it's a speeds and feeds sort of thing. But this tech is going to be awesome. This new paradigm, we can try it. We can give some experiments out there and see, hey, maybe, we see an increase in viewership, or maybe we see an increase in viewer retention over time, or maybe we try a 2K experiment and most viewership stays on 1080 or 720, the smaller renditions, because they don't have the bandwidth, or they don't have a device that is capable to play back 2K or 4K yet. So maybe it's just a little too early. So, time will tell, and we're still focusing on this just paradigm shift as a way to improve quality. And even today, without AV1, without 2K, without 4K, we're super excited about the quality gains that folks can access.
All right. I think, let's see. Oh, I know. Last thing, talk about creators joining the beta. How do they join the beta? Who will be let into the beta? That sort of thing.
Yep, totally. So you can visit twitch.tv/broadcast and click enroll. We're allowing cohorts on a sort of like a weekly basis. Every week we're looking at the data. We're trying to gauge how much the support burden is, if there are any new broken things that we need to go fix before we allow more folks in. We're being super intentional about letting folks in on a rolling basis. And we were excited last week, actually. We made the announcement Monday, and Friday we let a very small cohort into the beta starting on Friday. And they've had really great results so far. And a big part of this beta is actually having the community help us test different setups. The reality is there's like a bunch of different GPU models. There's a bunch of different games and content creation software. There's a ton of different networks. And so part of this beta allows us to innovate, kind of in the open, knowing that like it's a beta, things might break, but your feedback is actually going to be super helpful. So the actionable thing here, twitch.tv/broadcast, click the request early access button, and then keep an eye out in your email. You'll receive an email that'll include information about how to download the specific version of OBS that we've added these features to when the time is right. So, so far, like super amazing, great interest from the community, but we're letting folks in. It's happening.
And a few things that didn't come out that I think is important to highlight to everyone. First of all, we're working with OBS so that eventually this is part of the mainstream download of OBS, because that's what we'd like, so that you don't have to have a special download. And OBS has been a wonderful partner in this. Number two, all of this is done with the open standards. And in fact, Brad, you can talk in a second about what we're doing in terms of these protocols and to make sure they're open, because this is not something that's designed just for Twitch. Now, we on the server side already are handling this, but this is designed so that any streaming platform can use this, third parties. And so this is not something that is exclusive to Twitch. Brad, you want to talk for a second about the process for the standards?
Yep. Yeah, certainly. So Twitch is a member of a software consortium group called the VioVera Software Organization. And last year, that organization took the RTMP. So RTMP is the video protocol that OBS connects to Twitch with to send your video traffic. It hasn't been touched in a long, long, long time. And the folks at VioVera and Twitch included made some updates to allow newer codecs like HEVC or AV1 video to be sent, and they called that enhanced RTMP. We've been working with that same group of people to add this multi-track video or multi-track audio to that protocol. And what that means, once we get the standard out there and we socialize it and we get other companies on board, third-party platforms that help folks maybe simulcast will be able to adopt this multi-track paradigm. I'm excited to see all sorts of different technology get built around it. And I suspect like the open source software, like GStreamer and FFmpeg and all of the things that video developers all over the world rely on will end up, gaining this multi-track feature when it comes to enhanced RTMP. So we don't want to make this a Twitch specific thing, because we know that like innovating and like creating this type of standard will help the entire video world, kind of like all rising tides lift all boats sort of thing. And this is just a paradigm shift that, we're excited to test in beta now, but we're making it open source. And in fact, working with the Ops project has been amazing. And the version for enhanced broadcasting is already open source today. So, we've been starting to develop this in an open source paradigm so that other folks can take advantage of it. And it's just better for the community at the end of the day.
All right. Well, Brad, this has been great. We'll be getting to Q&A like really soon. So see you in about 2 minutes. I think we have one touch point.
Sounds good.
And then we'll get you back on.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Mary. Turbo Mobile, give us the info.
Okay, so as many of you know, Turbo removes ads from streams while still contributing ad revenue to your favorite streamers. In case you didn't know, that's what Turbo does. Today, we're making it easier to go ad-free and rolling out the ability to purchase Turbo directly within the Twitch mobile app. You no longer have to navigate to your mobile browser to sign up. It is launching on Android today, and iOS will follow in just a few weeks.
Yeah. And just for clarity, in general, as many people know this, but there are additional fees when you buy things on your phone. That's why the subscription is more if you sub on a phone versus on the desktop. And so the price is different. So we vary the price of subscriptions. We also vary the price of Turbo, so that then in the end, it has the same revenue that goes to streamers. So you will see that Turbo is a little more expensive on the phone than doing it on the desktop.
This was highly requested because a lot of people are asking for options for an ad-free experience. This is it. It's Turbo, and now it's on mobile. Well, soon.
And to be clear, it doesn't matter where you buy it. The service is the same. It's not like, oh, now you get ad-free on mobile. No, the difference is you can now buy it on mobile or you can buy it on desktop. Turbo is the same, regardless of where you buy it. All right. Are we ready to go to questions, Mary?
I think so, and that means we're going to need Brad Hughes to come back because
Brad,
these
come on
questions
back.
are for him.
All right, I'm back.
All right. Why don't we just alternate, Mary? I'll do the first one and you ask the second one, okay? So,
Easy.
Mitmat4D. Will Twitch in the future be able to ingest SRT streams directly instead of RTMP for IRL streaming? Thanks.
It's a great question. So streaming protocols are hard. And we've deployed RTMP at scale worldwide on the Twitch side, and it seemed like a very obvious place for us to start when it came to enhanced broadcasting and multi-track video. We've heard this feedback and this question a lot from customers and creators, and the reality is that SRT is good in some scenarios, WebRTC is good in some scenarios, RTMP is good in some scenarios, and we just don't know yet. We're getting good feedback, but this general technology and architecture of this, multiple versions of the video being sent to Twitch, we think that will be compatible with SRT or WebRTC in the future. So I would say it's too early to say. I can't make any public commitments, but we're always looking at the best protocols and the best technology to make sure that creators and viewers have a great experience on Twitch.
Well, I'll add in, as someone who IRL streams and has wondered this themselves, one thing I realized after spending more time with the tech team is that even SRT, you're going to have challenges. And then, in fact, if you're IRL streaming, oftentimes you're still going to want to use a cloud OBS, because the benefit of the cloud OBS is you get consistency even when you drop out. So often the reason they want this is to avoid using the cloud OBS. But even if we accepted SRT, for many IRL streamers, you're probably still going to want to use a cloud OBS. All right, Mary, you get the next one.
This next question comes from Whoopi TV. How many participants for the enhanced broadcasting beta will be selected? Is made sure that streamers who actually have the hardware to use it get into the beta with higher priority?
Yeah, makes sense. So publicly, we've already shared it's a first come, first serve thing. And the beta is initially only for folks with NVIDIA GPUs, but with time, we're adding AMD and we're adding Intel and we're adding other GPU support. So one of the things that we're carefully watching is activation. So we let in a certain number of streamers. What percentage of those streamers are actually going live and giving us meaningful feedback? And kind of back to the point of the beta is to collect data across this broad sort of matrix of GPU and CPU and game or creator software and network. So, we want to continue to let people in to allow us to collect that data, make sure it's a great experience as we work towards making it available in Op Studio for all creators to use. So we're not screening on people's hardware setups. We're letting them read the blog and, opt in, and if they try it with an AMD GPU today, it just won't work. But in the coming months, it will work with AMD GPUs. So sort of stay tuned and just go mash the button on twitch.tv/broadcast, get you in the queue. That's the best chance you've got right now.
So the TLDR is it's first come, first serve. So you should click on the button if this is something that interests you.
Yeah, and to be clear, our interest in getting as many people testing it as possible. We just want it to be working. And so the way it kind of goes is right now it's a closed beta. We'll move to an open beta once we feel like it's working, because whether it's 1,000 people using it or 50,000 people using it, we want everyone to use it. We'll go from a closed beta to an open beta, and then eventually it'll be part of OBS. And that'll be the sequence. And we'd like to get to an open beta as soon as possible, but we don't want to give you software that isn't working well for you. And so that's why we're taking care. Okay. All right. The next one, Brad, I'm just going to go ahead and answer this one. Okay. Because, so from Soul Slayer, will this video encoding change also apply to streamers who haven't gotten affiliate yet? Absolutely. All streamers are eligible for this. You don't need to be an affiliate. That's one of the big benefits of this, is anybody can get transcoded.
All right. Our next question is from Mike the Ref. How quickly is the new transcoding beta rolling out? Signed up on the second day, and I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, we saw a huge response to the call for participants on the first couple of days, and that blew our socks off. Super excited about that. And we've enrolled a small number of streamers already, but we don't want this thing to fall down, right? So we're monitoring the performance of OBS, we're monitoring the performance of our backend systems just to make sure that it's a high quality experience. And we'll continue to enroll more participants over the course of the next few weeks as we review the data. I think I covered it.
One way to think of this, I think you said this. One way to think of this is early on in these things, you let a small number of people in, and then quickly you accelerate. So it's the type of thing that once we get, because there are bugs. The whole reason for doing a beta is there are bugs. As we fix them, more. So just hold tight. I don't think it'll be too bad. All right, next question from Nima now. Will Twitch keep the same number of server-side transcoders, or will it be harder for people to get automatic transcodes afterwards? Brad?
So Twitch is going to continue to offer transcodes as we have historically. As Mary mentioned earlier, we want to increase the options for folks. And this is a paradigm shift that's happening in the video world, sort of one way or the other. And so we're excited to offer it as an option.
We will always have streamers streaming on devices and machines that can't do this. Let's just take IRL streaming. So even with IRL streaming, 5 years from now, if you're streaming on a backpack, you ain't going to have a computer with an NVIDIA chip that can be doing these transcodes. Transcoded is important. We're going to keep doing transcode on the server.
And one more question from CyberRat. Will client-side encoding only be available through OBS? What about those of us who might be using Streamlabs or other broadcasting studios?
Yep, happy to take that. So no is the short answer. We want, regardless of creator workflow or software, we want everyone to be able to send multiple encodes to Twitch. So it might just take time. We've reached out and we've been working with some of the other stream softwares out there, and some of the third-party, stream platforms, especially that are prevalent in the IRL streaming space, just to give them a bit of a heads up and to give them, hey, here's the protocol, here's how you send video, here's how you interact with this new feature. So those will take some time, but we fully intend for this to be an open thing that any client that sends video to Twitch can ultimately participate in this. We just started with OBS because practically...
Keep going.
I was going to say, practically speaking, a big majority of Twitch streamers use OBS. So it seemed as a great place to start.
Well, and Brett, actually, I do not know. In terms of Streamlabs OBS, I guess once it is part of OBS, then since Streamlabs OBS is built on top of OBS, then it would be part of Streamlabs OBS. But it is probably not until it is in the main branch of OBS that it would be included in Streamlabs OBS, right?
Yeah, and because we've actually open sourced our contributions to OBS Studio already, folks at Streamlabs or other sort of derivative streaming softwares on this open source OBS Studio, they can start that work today. So, absolutely right. That's part of the beauty of developing in the open source paradigm is that, creators using any open source software or derivative software can relatively easily merge and migrate the features in from this upstream, juggernaut of software that is being developed and pushed to get these awesome new features. It's not just strictly an OBS thing.
And we didn't grab it. Nobody asked, but I know I've had a lot of people ask, so I've had to answer. Why just NVIDIA? Are we going to include other chips?
Yep. If you take a look at the general hardware set, you look at the average hardware setup of a streamer today, and there's data out. You can kind of Google this or go find it on the internet. The majority of streamers today use or have an NVIDIA GPU. So in the interest of moving fast and sort of building something super quick and getting it out for beta testing super fast, we just started with the mean average, the most adopted thing. But we've also been working closely, with AMD, with Intel, to be able to add support for different GPUs, because we've actually had requests from some of the folks, even on the Twitch Enhanced Broadcasting Discord server. When's AMD going to come? When's Intel going to come? And lots of great questions, but we're working on it. But initially, it just seemed to make sense. let's focus on the biggest piece of the pie, and then we'll continue to work through them as we move forward.
Brad, thank you so much for answering all these questions. Dan, did you have a last thing to say?
One thing I was going to clarify for people, just because it's a combination of the processing and your upload bandwidth does matter too, which we're going to take that into account. Because as you send multiple transcodes, it does require more upload bandwidth. If you don't have the upload bandwidth, then this won't work and we won't use it. And that's one of the benefits of the enhanced broadcasting. But a lot of our streamers, that's the interesting thing. Now, I'm someone who does not have very good upload bandwidth when I'm at home. I'm in the office today, so I'm very excited. But for most of our streamers, they actually have extremely good upload and download bandwidth. So that's not as much of an issue. But if it is an issue, then this may not be right for you because it does require additional bits going up to the server. All
Are
right.
you saying we're not going to have any more issues, Dan, at your house?
I cannot guarantee that, Mary. I cannot guarantee that.
What happens when you stream from the woods? Brad, thank you so much for answering these questions and giving us some much needed clarity. I actually suspect you will be back on at a later time to talk more about this because this is an ongoing thing and you are going to continue to learn and probably report back with your findings. So I'm excited. Thank you for sharing so much and telling everybody a little bit about what you do here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks,
Dan,
Brad.
Mary, thanks so much for having me. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Bye, Brad.
Okay, let's get
now
Angela
our next
back
set of
here.
streamers. She's back on. I missed her, and good news. Hi, Angela.
Great. Hi. I was learning so much for Brad. I was like, wow, this is a very interesting topic. Not something I get to listen
And I
to
will
much.
say this, I really like Angela here because these are tricky and tough questions, and I'm glad I'm not the one who has to answer them right now. So, Angela. No.
You should have to answer every question if you have to. But Angela is really well versed in this stuff. Dan,
Yeah.
I think you have the first question for Angela.
Yes, I know. All right. So from the Devil Doc, what is Twitch doing to restrict trolls from reporting streamers, admins, mods for being under 13 when they're clearly not? I have seen a streamer literally get reported and make a secondary account and then gets reported again for being under 13 when she's well over 13.
Well, first of all, I'm sorry this is happening. If I had a wish, I wish people would not false report because it actually isn't helpful for us or to the person they're reporting. What I would say is that we have invested in our appeals processes and reporting. So I would ask you to make sure that they're going through that appeals process. We've actually improved our SLAs. And our appeals process is really great. So please direct them to appeal and we will fix any report that was enforced on incorrectly.
Yeah, but and by the way, just to clarify, since some people first of all, sometimes if someone gets reported multiple times, that doesn't necessarily means they're trolls, because if someone might appear under 13, then more people might think, oh, I think they're under 13. Now, I assume, Angela, that once we determine if someone gets reported for being under 13 and we say, nope, we don't have any evidence that they're under 13, ideally that person should not then subsequently be suspended for being under 13 because of having another person saying they're under 13. So they shouldn't be suspended, ideally.
Correct. I think that's really good. So yeah, we could always assume positive intent as well, that people sometimes will report because they assume someone is under 13. But we should not be enforcing again if it's been reported, you've appealed, and we should make sure that there's not an additional enforcement. And also, for example, and this is a question we get a lot where sometimes people share, well, I got reported multiple times. Does that mean that I've been enforced multiple times? No. If the report is the same and we look at it, there's just one enforcement associated with it. So sometimes people feel like if people are abusing our reporting system, they get additional enforcements, which is not true. But I think that's a really good point. We will resolve any additional reports for underage so that we don't enforce against that account again.
Thank you. Our next question is from Truck Driver 135. I've heard about a timeout limit Is there a max amount of times a person can be timed out before your system perma-bans them?
Actually, no, we do not do that. So that will not lead to an indefinite suspension. That's not true. So those are two separate instances.
Although, Angela, they may not be talking about timeout. They may be talking about multiple enforcement actions. That, in fact, if someone gets 6, if someone this is about a timeout limit, but they may actually be asking the question, is there a maximum number of times a person can be suspended and then subsequently might be indefinitely suspended?
I see what you're saying. We're thinking of timeouts, not suspensions.
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Yes. Okay, that's great. So timeouts are separate, obviously, than enforcements. But to your point and clarification, if you receive a certain amount of enforcements, you can receive an indefinite suspension. But we have updated our appeals process. So for indefinite suspension, you can appeal that within, I believe it's within 6 months. So we also, very much carefully look at indefinite suspensions, trying to make sure that our goal here is not to indefinitely suspend people. Our goal is really to ensure that our policies are clear and people are safe on our service.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify that because I think this person was talking about timeouts, but other people may have heard the answer and thought of a timeout as a suspension, and so might have gotten confused.
I think that's a good point because we do get a lot of those questions.
Let's see. And this is, all right, these are going to be, I think those are the two we had for Angela, right? But Angela should stay for this one in case, because this one is related. So this was just listed as Dan Mary. Can we please have a setting to turn off the revealing females on my front page? It is very annoying at 16 to see that. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and answer that. Absolutely, we're working on that. There's two things we're working on. I mentioned it earlier. One is blurring of thumbnails because sometimes just having it appear. And for clarity, for those who don't know, we already preclude sexually suggestive content from the homepage and from other discovery surfaces. Okay, and that was intentional so that we avoid this problem. Now, some people do use the browse directory where they go to a category. Okay, and they may go to a category such as hot tubs, and we do not filter them from the categories, and that's where the ability to blur thumbnails, which is going to be that is probably the first thing we get out, just because that's a little bit quicker to do, and we're moving quickly on this. So blurring thumbnails is something that we can do fairly quickly, and then we're going to add the ability, and it's not just about sexually matured stuff for the filtering. You'll be able to pick by any of our content classification labels and say, please don't show me this content on discovery surfaces, and then you won't see it. And so that's something that's important. Appreciate this concern. I will say this is one of the things where things evolve over time, because historically, much of the content was in a small number of categories, such as ASMR or hot tubs. And so if you didn't go to those categories, if you don't go to hot tubs, then you don't see it. Okay. However, it is certainly the case that people sometimes are in other categories, such as just chatting, which is also one of the reasons why we were very clear in this, that if you are using the attire exception, then you can't classify in just chatting. And that was happening, and we would reclassify people. Okay. However, I think the change that Angela talked about earlier, now we're going to say, look, if you keep doing this, then eventually we're going to take an enforcement action, because if you are taking the exception, you should be in that category. And that's where people such as this, who are asking this question, won't see you unless they go to the category.
Yeah, that's great. Yep.
All right. Okay, so I think that's it for the ones relevant to you, Angela. So thank you for being here.
Great. Thanks, Mary. Thanks,
Angela.
Dan. Cheers.
All right. Question for me. What will Twitch do differently in light of the recent wave of layoffs, and why did the layoffs have to happen? Thank you, Boy07. And for those who didn't know, I talked for a while last week about this, and I was going to mention something at the beginning of the stream, but we were jumping into TwitchCon, and I felt like I was sure the question was come up, so I thought it would best to wait to the end. So before I say anything, I want to acknowledge the contribution that the impacted individuals had on Twitch. They have had, they've contributed a great deal. What we've done, this was an extremely difficult decision. We're very conscious of the contribution these people have made and the fact that having to make this decision impacts their lives. In terms of what will Twitch do differently, so one thing that we are going to be very conscious about doing is, in general, we are going to be very conservative about the size of our organization. In general, the reason we grow the organization needs to be absolute confidence that by growing the organization, we're going to drive more value to our streamers. Because ultimately, we want to put as much money in our streamers' pockets as we can. And we need to make sure that as we grow the organization, that we keep it as small and as efficient as possible so that we can serve that. So we're going to continue to be very cautious as we consider any other, in fact, have no plans to grow anytime in the near future. The other thing that we're going to need to do is, now we were very conscious in these to make sure that we were able to meet the needs of our streamers and continue to provide the service that everyone depends on. We still have meaningful resources. We won't get as much done in terms of product development and other things, but we will get a lot done. And we have a lot planned for this year. We're going to share a letter in the next few weeks talking about some of the things we have planned for this year. Going to invest heavily in continuing to improve the service for our streamers. We're going to need to be efficient in the use of our resources. We're going to have to make sure that as we spend time on something, that it has the impact that we want. I think we'll be a little more flexible in things, but we're going to continue to serve and meet the needs of our streamers and continue to invest, because ultimately Twitch succeeds when our streamers succeed.
Thanks, Dan. I think that there is such a void left by incredible hardworking people. I've had a lot of creators ask me if that's going to mean that we're going to have less streamer events or programs dedicated to them. I've had specific people ask me, are the guilds okay? And so I would like to reassure you that the guilds program is absolutely going to continue. So we do have guilds for Black creators, women, and Latin and Hispanic. That is continuing. Our meetups program still exists. Our ambassador program is continuing. We will still have TwitchCon. There's still a lot of really wonderful things to look forward to. In fact, Black History Month is actually right around the corner, so you can all look forward to that event launching on February 1st. So there's still wonderful things ahead of us, and you can be sure of that.
Yeah, in fact, just to reiterate that, a huge part of our role here is to effectively communicate with the streamer community. That's one reason why we do shows such as Patch Notes. In fact, that is Mary's job, is trying to help us do scaled communication with the community. And that's an area that's really important. We're going to keep looking at more ways to do that. I think Unity Guild is a great example that has been a huge success. I can't tell you how many people have come up to me and talked about the impact that it's had. I've done events with the Women's Guild and some of the other guilds. And so it's a testament to how community is the foundation of Twitch. And a big part of what we need to do is continue to look at scaled ways we can be investing in all of our creators. We support our big creators. We need to support our small creators. We need to support our medium creators. We need to effectively get out there. And that's one reason why we use the platform like this, because it turns out a great way to engage with a community is live streaming.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
It's great that we're able to do this, and we do appreciate all of you joining in chat and asking questions, because it shows us that it's working. We do want to be transparent, but it kind of requires your feedback, and you can give that to us in so many different ways. User voice is a great way, but being here in this chat, whether or not you're streaming it yourself or you're just watching or you're participating in chat, it's extremely valuable to us. And so I do thank you for your time and your energy and your opinions on it. They're very helpful to me as we continue the work.
Yeah, one thing I want to respond to that I've seen it on Twitter and I just saw it in chat, so I want to be clear since we announced TwitchCon, because I think Twitch could save money by ditching all the huge TwitchCon events and spending like crazy. TwitchCon is something that we designed as a self-supporting thing because, of course, people pay to go to TwitchCon. We get sponsorships for TwitchCon, and so while we still have some work to do in general, you should think that TwitchCon is a self-supporting activity, which is exactly when people ask questions about taking TwitchCon to Asia, taking TwitchCon to other places, that we would love to do it. We just need to make sure that we understand how to run those in a self-sustaining fashion where they fund themselves. So we've actually been very conscious about looking at how we spend money. It's been something that we've been working on because this was the last resort that we wanted to do. And we're going to continue to be frugal where it's appropriate because I think that's our responsibility in terms of our role and what we need to do for our streamers.
Thanks for that. That is pretty much the end of our questions. We do appreciate them, and we encourage you to continue to use user voice and also chime in the next time we go live, which actually might be sooner than you think. We have some additional streams planned. I won't say when because we're still noodling on it, but we'll have more stuff coming soon, which is exciting. Dan, thank you for your time and your energy and answering so many questions today.
All right. Well, Mary, as always, thanks for being here and looking forward to the next time we get to stream together.
Yeah, it's fun. I look forward to it, and I look forward to the next time we will see you. Now, don't go anywhere because we actually just freshly partnered a streamer. I believe their name is Meruru, and they're so lovely, and they're kind of having a bit of a cry because they just got partner, and everyone's being so lovely. So I think it would be really fun if we rated them and continued that hype and that love. So please be awesome and kind to Miru as we raid them, and congrats to them for getting partner. Give them a big congrats in chat when you see them.
All right. Thanks all. See you in chat.
Bye, everybody.